What's up, y'all? How you doing? Rebecca, only black girl here, checking in. You guys are getting a very rare morning recording of me because I do not function before 1 p.m. There's a reason I chose to work in an industry that functions at night. Alas, here we are. I have my coffee because, yes, had to get a video done and this is the time that I can do it. So here we are. So for this video, we're going to do something a little bit different. I am going to be reading through the iconic Reddit thread, Am I the Asshole? However, we're not just going to read any Am I the Asshole questions, but we're going to look at specifically adoption related ones. Now, I follow a page on Facebook. Yes, I'm still on Facebook. What the fuck? I literally am only on it for the black groups that exist there because they be lit. But I do follow a page called Reddit Ridiculousness, and I just want to know if y'all are okay, because the Reddit people are actually insane. Y'all are a different breed of people, and I don't know if y'all just be on there lying or if y'all are unwell, because so many of the stories that I see on that page, I mean, granted, it's called Reddit Ridiculousness, so I'm sure they're picking out the most wild ones, but like, some of y'all need help. But I bring all that up just to say that I have been kind of shocked about how many of the posts that come up on that page that are related to adoption. And so I took my ass on over to Reddit, which, by the way, if you use Reddit on your phone, do you know that you cannot just use the browser? It makes you download the app, which I don't like because I don't want to be invested in Reddit. But now I have to download the app so that I can open up these fucking Reddit pages. Girl, go to hell. But anyways, I downloaded the freaking app with this gatekeeping ass Reddit so that I could scroll through the Am I the Asshole threads and look specifically for the adoption related ones. And yeah, some of y'all fucked up. So yes, here is me, an adult adoptee, an adult transracial adoptee, here to react to Reddit's adoption questions. Am I the asshole for suggesting my pregnant sister put her baby up for adoption? Now, I actually had reacted to this already on TikTok, but I don't think I've posted anything here about it, so I'm gonna go through the story again. So the OP, who we'll call Karen, because that's the energy she's given, her sister, who is 27, was married to A. She says the name A, we'll call him Albert, for 3 years. So the family never really had a close bond with the husband. About a month before Karen posted this, she got a call from her sister saying that her husband was in the hospital due to a drunk driving accident. Unfortunately, the husband passed away. Now, 1 week after the funeral, the sister did not show up to the mother's 60th birthday party, which was 1 week after she buried her husband. Understandable. So Karen went over to the sister's house to check on her, found that her place was in a mess, obviously, because again, she just buried her fucking husband. There were takeout boxes and the trash spread around the entire kitchen and the entire sink full of dirty dishes. I offered to help clean since my sister was in a rough state. While I was cleaning, she began to tell me that her and her husband had been trying to have a baby for the past year. They were unsuccessful, and she decided to take a test today, and it came back positive. I, Karen, asked her if she was sure, and she said she was confident that she was going to schedule an appointment with her doctor. I told her not to get her hopes up until the doctor confirmed the results. So a few weeks go by, they don't hear anything from the sister, so Karen just assumes that it was a false pregnancy test. So now there's a Sunday dinner with the family, and the sister decides to announce to the family that she is expecting. Woo! Yay! Everybody have fun. There's a new life in the family. No. Karen decides to be an asshole. After dinner, I asked my sister if we could talk in private and brought her away from the rest of the family. I expressed my concerns for her and asked if she was truly prepared to be a mother. She can't even take care of herself. My sister got mad at the comment and said I have no right to comment on how she chooses to grieve and that her baby is the last piece of her late husband. Asked if she was truly prepared to be a single mother, even though it could ruin any chance of her moving on since no man wants to date a single mom. So I suggested she put the baby up for adoption so it could be in a healthy, stable home with 2 parents. So let's just recap here. Karen's sister marries this man that for some reason the family doesn't really care for. whatever. Her husband dies. A week later, she chooses not to go to her mom's celebration because her husband just fucking died. It's understandable. So Karen goes over to her sister's house and already immediately starts judging her for not having a sparkly clean house because her husband just died. Finds out that her sister is pregnant and then automatically assumes that she lost the baby because I guess her sister didn't come leaping with joy to her house immediately after her doctor's appointment. When she does announce to the family, Karen's immediate response is to say, you should probably put that baby up for adoption. And I love the reasons that she gave. First of all, you can't take care of yourself, so how are you going to take care of a baby? Again, this is a grieving woman. She just buried her husband. Now, I don't know if you know this, but people who already have kids also deal with grief. Death is a part of life. There are so many people who already have kids that deal with the loss of a loved one and can still raise their children just fine. So to assume that somebody who just buried their husband is somehow going to be grieving for the rest of their life to the point where they cannot raise a child is so convoluted and full of shit. Go sit down somewhere. The second reason she gave was that no man wants to date a single mom. Girl, I don't know where the hell you been, but single moms be getting their back blown out every single motherfucking day. These men don't give a shit. Furthermore, there are single dads. What if she wants to date a man who also has kids? What if, shocker, it's 2022 and she doesn't want to have a man in her life? Wow. Who would have thought? Maybe she's perfectly content raising her child by herself and isn't worried about having a man in her life at this time because she just buried the one that she loves. What a shocker. And the third reason that she gave was that the child deserves to grow up in a loving two-parent home. And this is where I just want to, full stop here. Everything else you said before this was also bullshit, but there's a lot of you that seem to think that when you place a child for adoption, that they're only gonna go to some perfect, angelic, two-family household that is perfect. And I'm here to tell you that's a fucking fairy tale. Does it happen? Sure. Is it what happens the majority of the time? No. Do you know what actually happens the majority of time? We just get stuck in the system and most of these kids just age out without a family at all. So to pretend like putting your child up for adoption is automatically putting them in a better situation is not true. And this is why so many of you who keep using adoption as a retort for the pro-choice movement are full of shit, because adoption does not mean a great family. Those two things are not synonymous. Adoption means you throw somebody into the system and hope something might happen. The majority of the time, nothing good is actually happening over there. And furthermore, this is why I personally and a lot of adoptees have been very vocal about trying to change the narrative that so many of y'all have around birth mothers in particular, is because you have people like this bitch who manipulate and force people into giving their kids up for adoption when they didn't really mean to. Now, this sister is thankfully very level-headed and is very able to stand up for herself, and that's great. There are a lot of people, birth mothers, especially young ones and especially women of color, who are manipulated or abused into giving away their kids when they didn't want to. And this is why we have to change the narrative from adoption in general, but especially around birth mothers, about being unwanted children or throwing kids away or yada yada yada, when that's not the circumstance for a lot of people. A lot of these people are manipulated by their family members, like this Karen here, into giving away their kids because it's not some picture perfect idea of what a family in America should look like. And I guarantee you, I'm just going out on a wild limb here, that this person is probably very religious. So if you haven't guessed by now, my answer is Karen, you are absolutely the asshole. And you should honestly go fuck yourself. Just an idea. And actually, truly, your sister should be allowed to smack you upside the head at least 3 times. One for every reason that you gave. That just seems fair. So, next. So this next one is interesting because it's coming from an adoptee. So let's get into it. Am I the asshole for calling out my adoptive parents for not helping me with college tuition when they did help their biological children. I am 17 and the youngest in the family. I was adopted at the age of 4. My biological mom was best friends with my adoptive mom, and she adopted me after my biological mom passed away. Any reference to my parents below refer to my adoptive parents. I have 3 oldest siblings. My parents covered their college tuition in full and covered their law and medical school for 2 years of them as well. They also gave them a stipend to cover living expenses. So her parents are loaded. Cause like, those are not cheap shit to pay for. I talked to my parents about college and what help I can expect, and surprisingly they told me there won't be any help because they don't have money left after they paid for my siblings. Oh, we're not even done yet. Now, I wasn't expecting a similar level of support, but I was expecting some kind of help. My mom told me that my bio mom didn't leave any money for my college, so I'll be on my own. So I asked, is this really about the money, or is it about me being adopted and not quote unquote their real son? They were offended, but reassured me that genuinely they can't afford it after they purchased a condo for my sister earlier this year, and it takes a few years for their finances to recover. I called them out and told them that I'm not buying this explanation at all, and they wouldn't be doing this to me if I were their biological child. My dad reminding me that I'm acting entitled in a way, and I should instead learn that we don't always get what we want. This is very much giving you should just be grateful you were adopted kind of energy, and this is why when y'all say this, I always tell you to go fuck yourself, because nobody asked you to adopt. He, the father, told me that most parents can't fund their children's college tuition, and I'm acting like an entitled to a tuition-free college when I'm not. But my point has been about being treated unfairly compared to my siblings. In the end, they told me they don't really need my permission or approval to support any of their kids, and I just need to accept that this is their decision. Now I fear that I have overstepped and indeed maybe being an asshole. Baby, let me tell you something. You're not being an asshole. Your parents are gaslighting you into submission.
Know your fucking place, trash.
This is bullshit, because if your parents have enough to pay for medical school, law school, undergrad, graduate school, and buy a condo for their kids, they absolutely have enough money to pay for your college tuition. And the crazy thing is, you weren't even asking for free tuition. You were just asking for some help, which is absolutely reasonable. And even if they really did drain all of their money, they should have planned for the fact that they have a whole nother child that hasn't attended college yet. They should have saved some of those finances that they poured into their biological kid and said, hey, we actually have 3 kids, but we have another kid or other children that also have to attend college. So guess what? Maybe Susan doesn't get a fucking condo. Maybe Susan can use her law fucking money to buy herself a condo. Just maybe. Because I promise you, the amount that they spent on that condo could have sent you to school for 4 years. You did not overstep. Your parents are being trash. And this is what a lot of adoptees talk about, and y'all be telling us that we're lying, that so many adoptive parents do indeed treat their adoptive kids differently than they treat their biological kids. They do not. There's a lot of shit that adoptive parents will not do for their adoptive kids that they absolutely would lay their life on the line for their biological kids, and it's fucked up. And those are the type of people who should not be allowed to adopt, and honestly shouldn't be allowed to have kids, period. Because this comment father made about they don't need permission or approval to support their kids, because it's literally your job. Your job, your legal duty as a parent is to support your child legally. Like, it's not an option. It's not something you can just decide not to do. There's a reason that there are family courts. There's a reason why people get put in jail for not taking care of their kids, because you have to do it. It's not just, oh, we don't feel like supporting one of our kids, so we're not gonna do it. So no, sweetheart, you are not the asshole at all. Your parents are absolute bottom of the barrel garbage. And I know you're 17, which means you're probably gonna be turning 18 within the next year or less, which means you're going to be a legal adult, and you actually unfortunately will be cut off from their finances, which honestly makes me wonder if that was their plan all along, was to just drag this out until you are quote unquote legally an adult and they don't have to support you anymore, which just further goes to show that they are fucked up. But I encourage you to start laying some boundaries and start cutting these people off, because it is evident that they do not give 1 or 2 or 3 fucks about you. And your mother, should be absolutely ashamed of herself, calling herself a friend to your biological mother and then treating their child like this. Whew, child, I knew these were gonna be aggravating, but my God, some of y'all are trash.
Well. Next question. See ya.
So this one is also interesting because it's coming from somebody who is trying to stop an adoption. Would I be the asshole if I contacted the adoption agency my dad wants to adopt from and tell them not to allow it? My dad, 67-year-old male, just told me that he and his wife want to adopt a kid. This seems like a bad idea for many reasons. For one, both my dad and his wife are approaching 70. They're both in good health now, but it seems like a bad time to take on such a big responsibility. And maybe if he was like Mr. Rogers, it would be okay-ish, but he absolutely is not. He has 4 kids and 100% of us are in low contact with him and are or should be in therapy due to his actions. Growing up, he was a pretty hands-off parent, and I grew up so afraid of him. He has a temper. He also deeply and fanatically religious, and he forced these opinions on us all the time. My mom died when I was in my late teens, and he was so deeply unsupportive of me and my siblings. For example, he scheduled my mom's funeral on my sibling's birthday because he couldn't find another day that would work. I can't remember the last time my dad told me he loved me, if ever. I deeply worry about how he would parent a child who most likely has some kinds of trauma and potentially special needs. I think he thinks of this as just hosting a kid in his house rather than the time and effort it must take to support an adopted kid. I think he would tell the kid to go to church and that would solve their issues and not get them into any therapy and would not assist them to acclimate to their school life, etc. All that was done by my mom. He's living his best retirement life right now and seems to be enjoying it. So I don't know why they feel the need to do this. At the same time, I recognize that the foster system is terrible, and at least with my dad, the kid would be financially supported. We'll get back to that. I don't know. Would I be the asshole if I found the agency they've been going through and tell them not to allow my senior dad, not an ideal dad, to adopt a kid? Short answer is no. In fact, I very much encourage people to do this. If you know that somebody who is adopting has been a absolute shithead, who is abusive, who is a religious tyrant, and should not be responsible for children, especially children who are coming into a situation already with trauma, I am absolutely in favor of you calling adoption agencies and telling them, don't let them do this. Now, whether or not the adoption agency is going to listen to you, I don't know, but at least you tried. And more people need to do this because I know for a fact that so many of you are aware that the people around you shouldn't be adopting, and you guys sit back and let them do this. You guys be sitting back and doing nothing when these people do adopt, and then they're abusing their adoptive kids, and those kids are traumatized and they're not getting the correct help that they need, and they're just being put on a whole bunch of drugs instead of actually getting the support and the therapy that they need to work through these issues. Especially if you're adopting somebody who is older, I'm assuming they're talking about maybe a teenager. That is even more work. Like, it's a lot of fucking work because now you're dealing with somebody who has lived through trauma for many years and has gotten to a point where they kind of understand that trauma, but they're not sure what to do with it. So there's a lot of acting out. There might be substance abuse. There might be physical abuse. There might be a lot of things happening. And you being a 70-year-old man with your wife that seem to think that just adopting somebody is just fun. To me, it sounds like from this letter that the parents seem to think that this is like adopting a puppy just to have running around the house. These are human beings. Like, you guys understand that, right? You're adopting a human, a free-thinking human being. Adoptees are not toys. They're not something that you just grab because you're bored in your retirement life. Your dad and his wife can also go fuck themselves. This is not a good situation. If this person hasn't done so, I really hope that they did call the adoption agency. Given these circumstances, I honestly doubt that they would be approved to adopt, but also it's America, so who knows? Which also brings me to the point that I want to talk about where he kind of went back and said that well, at least the kid would be financially stable. Yeah, finances is not the end all be all to raising a kid. It's one very small piece of it. And just because a kid might have money, and frankly, That doesn't mean anything because we just read a letter from somebody who was adopted into a family that had plenty of money and they didn't give him any to help with basic fucking needs. So just because somebody is adopted into a family that has financial stability isn't going to solve any of the problems. But at the end of the day, no, you're not the asshole, your parents are. And for anybody who is in this situation, again, I fully am for people standing up and saying something. Say something. Do not be a bystander. If there are people in your life that are adopting, even if it's not just adoption, even if it's their own biological kids and you see some foul shit happening in the house, say something to someone. Do not stand by and let abuse and bullshit go on unchecked. And again, whether or not the adoption agency listens to you, that's on them. But at least you said something. But I think I will leave it at that today. We went through 3 of those. If you guys like this series, I'm down to do it again. Let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, y'all, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. And I will hope to see you guys next time. Bye.